So, besides the writing of William Burroughs, where have the ideas of Korzybski found their way into literature?
I suppose there must be some influence on Ginsberg because he was so heavily influenced by Burroughs. To me, though, the equivalent of Korzybski in literature is Joyce's Ulysses, which has lots of is's in it, and because the narrative voice keeps changing throughout the book, you gradually begin to realize you can't trust any one reality tunnel. Everybody is perceiving a different day in Dublin on that particular day. That day when, as Edna O'Brien wrote, nothing and everything is happening.
Now, you hold a particular reverence almost for Joyce, it seems. What is it about Joyce that you find so fascinating?
There are many things. I recorded it on videotape, so you don't have to change the tape so often. You can get 6 hours on a videotape. And I got the whole 30 hours. Every now and then I play some of that instead of reading the text. I just lie back and respond to it. The current leading contender is Nurse Cahill, whom he meets in the maternity hospital, which makes their whole meeting absolutely hilarious. You think she's the one he's been corresponding. Neither one of them knows that the other is the one they've been corresponding. And that's a very typical of the kind of humor that appears throughout Ulysses, mixed in with all the tragedy. Bloom's day is overcast by the funeral in the morning, which reminds him of his father's suicide, and the fact that his son died at only 11 days old. And so, although Bloom is a basically cheerful person, there's an undertone of grief that keeps surfacing in his thought, and that's from the cabman shelter to Eccles Street. I republished until 25 years after his death, or 50 years after his death, I forget which. He knew he was a classic. He never doubted it for a moment. Joyce was absolutely 100% sure he was the most important writer since Shakespeare. And he knew he was creating a whole new literature. He'd be the subject of endless PhD dissertations and so on. He arranged that it would be long after he and Nora were both dead and gone, and Bloom's Day would be established as a national holiday virtually before the Irish found out they were celebrating it. And sharp. Well, the major one, as far as I'm concerned, seems to be Ezra Pound. Joyce was living in poverty in Trieste, teaching at the Berlitz School. He had written Dubliners and nobody would publish it. He had written 1,000 pages of what became Pound's ideas about precision of imagery and avoiding abstractions. He knew of any poets who didn't belong to that circle but were writing in more or less the Imagist style. And Yeats recommended James Joyce. Pound wrote to Joyce. Joyce sent him a batch of poems. Pound put 2 of them into the anthology. The 2 I would have picked, curiously enough, by bankers throughout history, and published it as a history of monetary crimes. And if Pound had the effect he wanted, then Agassiz would be republished in full, and we'd get Alexander Delmar's History of Monetary Systems in full. But anyway, we got the highlights thanks to the Square Dollar series. So McLuhan was very, very much aware of Pound and Pound's importance, and the technique of the cantos is in many ways closer to Internet than Finnegan's Wake is.
Well, both he and Joyce seem to have taken basically all information available to them and kind of condensed and synthesized it into their own vision.
Yeah, Finnegan's Wake and the cantos are so remarkably different on the surface, but underneath, both of them seem to be trying to include as much of humanity as possible in one book.
Well, what's interesting to me is that opportunity is now available to all of us, since we have this giant information source.
That's what I mean about Joyce and Pound being prophets of internet. Reading Joyce and Pound is much easier now than internet exists, because every time you're really puzzled, just put it into your search engine and you'll find out something about it. The internet more and more begins to approximate the minds of Pound and Joyce.
This concludes Session 2. Our program continues with Session 3.